Hey, it's JVL. Yeah. No, I don't think so. We'll just like I assume what this means is we'll have like two conversations happening at once. Right. Oh, okay. Oh, I said, well, that's even easier then. I don't have to think and type like it's an AMA. Awesome. Cool. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, all the so what Clancy stuff were you reading? Y- Yeah, yeah, because I think after executive decision, maybe he stopped, or whatever the one is where the Japanese airliner crashes into the Capitol. I think that, and that ends with Jack Ryan becoming president. I think that's the last one he wrote himself. Yeah, and everything else he just farmed out, which is really disappointing. Um, so, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I'm here, and we can do all of those things. Yeah, no, we'll just have a conversation with like 8 people or whatever. It's fine with me. Cool.
Okay, oh wait, that's the wrong screen. All right, so this is the idiot here. Today I've got a special guest who I'm not going to name for security purposes. I'll refer to him as Y2J. He is a very prominent figure responsible for the creation of the Empire Did Nothing Wrong meme in the Star Wars community, which I'm going to contend eventually. Now, would you like to say anything?
It is great to be here, idiot. And I can't believe you're going to be wrong about Star Wars and you're going to be pro Confederate, but that's okay. That's okay. You're young, you'll learn.
Oh, true. Oh, sure. Yeah. There's always a transition period, right, to ensure what was it, peace and prosperity.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's we're on our way to true galactic peace and prosperity before the space terrorists, came in
Space
and
terrorists. I
just
would say
fucking up
space
the
and
place.
caps. All right. Okay. So since you're the guest here, you basically have first choice of video game you'd like me to display. If it's one that you would know about, that's all right. If it's one you don't, your choice.
Gosh. So what should we talk about?
You mentioned Warcraft, specifically.
I was a Warcraft. So my little brother, worked for Blizzard
Really?
for a long while. Yeah, and like he took me through the Blizzard offices, and they had all of these life-sized plastic sculptures of the orcs and shit. It was weird, and I never did Warcraft, and always thought it was a little weird because I was a D&D guy when I was in middle school.
Oh shoot! Really?
Yeah, yeah, I was a D&D guy in middle school because man, the chicks just loved it. And girls were all over me
What?
because of my D.
Girls love D&D in like what the 80s,
So
90s.
this is a funny thing. Like it's become a thing. If you go to certain, if you're in the actor and entertainment community out in LA, there's a whole subculture of nerd princesses who like do D&D together, and like the whole Joss Whedon Rat Pack. Anyway, so I was skeptical of Warcraft, and then my little brother gave it to me for Christmas one year, and like paid my first year of subscriptions, and I logged on, and then it's like I looked up and it was 3 days later. and I realized that Warcraft was basically just training wheels for gambling addicts, and that everything is so perfectly designed. The quests and the rewards and the difficulty is perfectly titrated to just keep you there doing, oh, just one more thing.
My
And I felt pretty hard into Warcraft for about 6 months before I realized I can't do this. This is not good for me.
Yeah, my father wishes my brother had fallen out of it sooner. But the funny thing is, my brother, on occasions got dabbled back into it, and now his son, my older nephew, is playing it, and he asks me about it. The thing is, though, the only Warcraft game I ever played is Warcraft 3, the RTS, and I know nothing, virtually nothing about the lore, or the classes, or even the gameplay functions of World of Warcraft. So he'll ask me about stuff, and I was like, you know what, I don't really know, that's kind of after my time. But continue with Warcraft. First one on display will be Frozen Throne, so it gives us something we can talk about.
Well, the genius of the game design in Warcraft is that, unlike EVE Online or some of the other big ones, is that Warcraft is designed to meet you perfectly at whatever commitment level you're willing to give the game. So if you're going to play for an hour a day or an hour every other day, Warcraft will give you enough feedback to make it enjoyable. And if you are going to be part of a guild and you're going to spend 7 hours a day on the server, it will reward you at that level too. It's really devious and beautifully designed, and I instantly understood why it was that everybody fell so hard into it. And it's basically like meth for your brain.
Would you say that in that case, the sort of attributes of MMOs, when World of Warcraft from the early 2000s had, how much of their practices do you think influences the common monetization practices of mobile games nowadays?
I think a lot, because those early games really prefigured the idea of gaming as software as a service, which is, essentially what the online world has turned into. And that was then sped up by mobile, right? Once you had the iPhone, and people realized you can just give away the games, then try to extract 99 cents a month or $5.99 a month, or you could. And it was all gambling, right? I mean, you'd hit a certain level in Angry Birds or whatever it was you were playing, and to get past it, you needed to get this thing or this buff that you could only get from a certain box, and the box, you would buy it, but you had no idea what the chances were that you would get it. And I mean, there was actually legislation, which is why they're all now required to tell you what your chances are, because it is gambling. It's gambling with imaginary money, because they always funnel it as you pay $5 to get 3,000 gold doubloons, and then the box costs 2,000 gold doubloons, et cetera, et cetera. And I gotta say, because I'm an old gamer, I hate all of that stuff. I would rather buy a game for $100 and own the whole game and know that what I am purchasing is I am purchasing the work of a really gifted designer who tried to make an experience for me that's going to be really interesting and enjoyable, and not like I am a hamster that they are just trying to trick into doing a certain action in order to get a pellet from them. And I'm basically, I hate that entire mode of gaming. I really hate it, and I wish it would go away, but it won't, because it tapped this other enormous market, where gaming was pre-iPhone, pre-mobile. You basically had console gamers and PC gamers, and they represented a reasonably small subset of the general population. And now the gaming subset of the general population is essentially like 85% of the whole population qualifies as a gamer, in that they have some sort of game on their phone which they're paying for. And this is, whenever I see a game that's free, I immediately think I don't want that, because the old slogan in internet world is, if you're not paying for the product, then you are the product. And that's true even at the level of gaming.
That's some very interesting insights. I actually didn't know that. Know quite a bit about that, especially with World of Warcraft. It's nice to get some perspective on something that's affected my family. And of course, not to a significant extent, so I know it's there. So one other question I guess I kind of have for you. That's I'm going to kind of go a bit orthogonal with this one. Is what is your opinion of Arby's?
I have only eaten in Arby's once ever
Really?
in my life. And so growing up, Arby's was always the trash franchise of the major fast food franchises. There's like that ridiculous giant hat sign, and all they really have is roast beef. I don't like roast beef to begin with. And I became interested in Arby's after the nihilistic Eat Arby's campaign, and then the We Have the Meats. Yeah, and so I went to just try it out, and I don't know, I ordered some sandwich there that combined chicken, pork, and steak all in one thing, and it was totally middling. And I thought to myself, all right, I've now done this once, and I never have to do it again. Are you an Arby's guy?
I worked
Do you
at
like
Arby's for 7 months. It's funny. My first job was working at Arby's for 7 months, and before that, I'd only eaten there once. Not even for the roast beef. There was some sort of promotion for sauce popcorn chicken, and I ate there when I was 7. But ever since working at Arby's, it's actually on the higher end of my fast food places. It
So
gets.
what do you, if you're gonna rank it, rank the fast. I worked at McDonald's when I was in high school.
Oh,
That was
oh,
one of
bless
my
your heart, dude.
lousy high school jobs.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it was the worst. It was the worst. To the extent that I was ever politically conservative, in large part, it came from working at that McDonald's. I hated that job so much.
I can't. I cannot blame you for having vitriol after working any sort of fast food, but McDonald's especially.
Yeah, it was bad. So tell me, rank me your fast food chains.
Okay, if I'm going to, that's kind of hard because I don't necessarily have traditional rankings. I have categories and priorities based on resources. I don't feel like, say I only feel like spending a few bucks. Of course, I'm going to go over to McDonald's and use the dollar menu. But if I want to spend like a standard amount of money, well, that just kind of depends on the mood I'm in. But the thing for me is, I do go to Arby's probably about half the time of all times I visit fast food places. I like the food, I like the food, but here's the reason I like the food. I don't look at it like it's fast food. I look at it more as a budget deli. And as someone, in the Southeast, all the people tend to gravitate towards Chick-fil-A. And I guess maybe part of me, being the contrarian, doesn't want to do that. I want to go to the opposite end of the food chain. Well, not the food chain, but the fast food meat lineup. And then there's the fact that Arby's consistently has offered the cheapest food on campus or near campus in Atlanta compared to all the other places. Like, it's a perfect storm essentially. College economics and I don't know, contrarianism. And then there's the fact that my family's from the north. In some sense, I kind of want to recapture them in the midst of all this.
So you think on a calories per dollar basis, Arby's is up towards the top of the food chain list. Where would you put Taco Bell? Because I have recently fallen back in love with Taco Bell. When I was in high school, my favorite fast food place was Taco Bell, because you could get, I don't know, 12 tacos for $4 or something insane like that. And I hadn't eaten Taco Bell since high school, I think. And then I just kind of stumbled into it a few months ago, and I thought to myself, it was like, like meeting your first girlfriend again. I was like, where have you been all my life?
Well,
And I don't know, some of the shit Taco Bell is doing now with like grilled toasted cheese chalupas and Dorito Locos Nachos. It's, I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to say that it's like they've discovered cold fusion. It's not on par with that, but it's, I don't know, like 3 notches below that in the greatest scientific advances of the last 100 years.
I mean, we got Taco Bell nearby. I'm not particularly interested, but it's not. But Taco Bell is in sort of a subset of places that I won't rag on. Essentially, I get it. It's not my thing, but I understand the market niche they serve and the necessity of serving said niche.
And it's cheap.
Okay, yeah, that I will get. I always get.
A ton of calories for $3. They can make that happen for you.
Yeah, no, I do give them props to that. One place that I've kind of I ate a lot before the pandemic was Crystals. Actually, don't laugh, but it's frankly because they
What
had
is
coupons.
that?
White Castle, right?
Yeah.
It's basically a southeastern equivalent without the cheese on the burger patties, except a lot greasier. Initially it looks really trash, and it is. It's probably about the lowest end fast food you can get, but I have a lot of adoration and respect for it because it's not really trying to sell you on that it's more than it is. And before the pandemic, the company used to have coupons listed on the website. I just pull up on my phone and order with it, and if it wasn't for the fact it was so far away from the campus, if I was, on there, I'd probably be going there for lunch instead of Arby's or to Tech Square.
Interesting. Very interesting.
I've only had White Castle one time in my life. I think that was 2019. No, No, definitely not 2019 January when I went with my dad to visit distant family up north. We went to the OSU campus. Well, we were driving through Columbus, and I went to the one that was near the OSU campus, and I enjoyed it. Dad thought I was, Dad thought it was really weird. I don't blame him particularly because of the niche of fast food it occupies, but it's something I never really had before.
Never touched it. Never done White Castle.
I miss it.
There are whole classes of things like I've never done Long John Silver's.
Okay, actually, well,
Zaxby's once.
I actually no, I've only been to Zaxby's. I'll put it this way: my best experience with Zaxby's was when I wasn't even inside of Zaxby's. We were at GHP, Governor's.
Tell me more.
Yeah, Governor's Honors Program. It's like the state thing it's what the state does for its high-end students. I managed to get in somehow, and I was in the hall with all the other dudes, and we had this thing where we basically ordered food because we're not allowed to leave campus that we're on for security reasons or whatnot. And we
Summer after junior year of high school.
yes, right before my
I did that in New Jersey. Yeah, I did that. We call it, but in Jersey we call it Governor's School. Yeah,
it was
it was great, wasn't it? Best summer of your life.
oh dude, yeah, it was.
Yeah.
I can we pulled so I don't know. It's a lot of memories coming back. Anyway. Oh, I'm losing here. Anyway, yeah. So, man, that call was fun. When in middle school, I was a complete ass. I was a complete idiot. I don't want to remember, but there was this one dude who I didn't really get along with then, and we got along great there. And I think it was probably because both of us had matured, so to speak. I got along great with my hall, and it was very interesting too, getting to experience subsets of the state beyond the sort of metropolitan experience. There were a lot of people from rural areas there, and it was nice to see that part of Georgia. It was interesting too. I think I caught feels for two girls while I was there, and I never had any success with either of them. But man,
Yeah, Governor's School is good at that. You want something? You want to know something crazy?
go ahead.
So I went back to Governor's School after after I graduated college, the summer after graduating, I went back as faculty for Governor's School. They asked me to come back and teach for the summer, and I didn't have anything else to do, so I said sure. And one of the kids who was there as a scholar while I was there wound up becoming my wife.
Wow,
How crazy is that?
that's something you hear about every day.
No, it is not. It sounds super pervy, but
Yeah.
it's actually less pervy than it sounds because we did not date while we were there. We just met each other and became friends and started dating 4 years later.
Okay, I mean that helps. So I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, hey, I gotta give props to you. You volunteered that information on your own. I am in no position to criticize or judge whatsoever. No.
Yeah, well, everything's fine so long as it works out.
Yeah.
I mean, we've
Ethical.
been married for 18 years and we've got 4 kids. It only becomes really bad. It was there was this chick who was one of my students and I banged. Then it's bad. Right. But it's, so long as there's a happy ending, then it's totally cool.
Yeah. All right. That's that's interesting. Okay. Now we're going to get into the stuff that you actually know about, and it's your opinion of the National Review as it stands today, and going back 6 months.
So it's hard for me. I got a whole mess of friends over at National Review, and so I've had a front row seat to what's been happening over there, and I have a lot of sympathy for the position they're in, because they're in the position where basically their readers and their donors hate them because they think that National Review has not been supportive enough of Trump. And then everybody else in the country kind of hates them because they think they've been too ridiculously supportive of Trump. And it's not an entirely fair thing because there are people there who have been really shameful, like Victor Davis Hanson, but then there are people there who've been totally honorable, like John McCormick and Michael Brennan Doherty. I guess my concern about National Review is what place they can live in going forward, and that is much more a question of their audience, because I worry that their audience going forward is going to want no part of what they are trying to do, which is to hold on to basically Reaganite conservatism. And if their audience doesn't want any part of that, and the donors think that they want to get in with the new white nationalist hotness, I don't know where that leaves NR as an institution, and this is the problem with having a legacy audience, right? So you have a legacy audience, and then the world changes, and you have to decide. You have to basically you're hostage to your audience. And with my shop, we have the total luxury of having built an audience from scratch. So we never have to tell anybody anything that we don't believe because we don't want to offend them and we're worried about losing like 15% of our subscribers overnight. And so we have it much easier than they do, and I have a great deal of sympathy for them, and I hope that they are able to keep their honor.
That's, well, in this day and age, keeping your honor is far harder than it sounds.
It sure is. And, as I said, many of the people over there have, some have not. Rich Lowry, who I personally like very much, I think has really treaded the middle ground there. And it's a little weird. I mean, Rich will write. So Rich has a column that he writes for Politico, and he will say stuff in the Politico column that he would never dare say on their website, because it would just enrage the National Review readers. And then he'll say stuff in the National Review that he would never be able to get published at Politico, because Politico would say, "Oh, come on, be serious." So they are. Over the next few weeks, National Review is going to have a real crisis because they have signaled that they are against the Trump attempt to overturn the election. They have signaled that they believe that Joe Biden won, more or less. We're going to have a floor fight on January 6th over the Electoral College report when it comes to Congress. There will wind up being roll call votes where every member of Congress has to go on record as to whether or not they want to throw out the Electoral College votes. And NR will be against all of that. And I believe that about 70% of conservatives and Republicans are going to be for all of that. And I don't know how NR is supposed to weather that.
All right. Oh, here, hold on. I gotta go get my pen pad. I'll be right back.
Yeah. I'm not going anywhere.
Oh, shit. Alright, I'm back.
Yep.
So in keeping with the prior conversation theme of legacy audiences, do you want to discuss Star Wars?
Yeah, let's do that.
Alright, I don't want to get into the CIS versus the Empire bit real first. I would rather discuss your opinion on the sequels. Because we're certainly going to disagree.
Yeah, so you like them?
I appreciate. Well, yeah, you know what? I do, because here's the way I see Star Wars. Right, Star Wars is basically ideological. Well, not ideological. It's an intellectual creation of George Lucas designed to appeal to young people in the '70s after Vietnam during the recession. They don't have something to think, so they have something positive to think about. To me, while it's fun to have mythological and fantastical elements like that, it's not a real critical thing. At the end of the day, I want people to have fun. I want everyone to have as much fun as they can with Star Wars. And if that means there's incoherence, so be it. There was incoherence in the original trilogy, certainly in the prequels, which I absolutely love. That's what I grew up with. And there's incoherence in the sequels. And I'll take all of it with a smile.
Wow. You just blew my mind.
I don't know. I mean, I talked to my dad about this too, and he says that I'm kind of overplaying the Star Wars for making young people happy bit. Since he's a dinosaur. So he's got some validity on that, but I wouldn't particularly know. But look, the biggest thing to me is there's so much infighting between fans of each. Well, not the fans of each. The real problem is the toxicity between people who grew up with the prequels and people who grew up with people who like the sequels, and it's so pointless. The prequels were shit on so hard. My favorite trilogy was shit on so hard, and now you people are doing the same to Star Wars that my nephew's growing up with. Are you out of your mind? That's completely unacceptable. That's not right. If you really care about the health of your fandom and making sure people can be happy with the stuff that you enjoy, that's not appropriate in any sense.
Yeah, I don't care at all about the health of the fandom, to be honest. I only care about what's true. And turns out there are only 3 good Star Wars movies.
Oh,
and
okay.
Those are A New Hope, Empire, and Rogue One.
Oh, not Return of the Jedi.
No, Return of the Jedi is horrible.
Yeah,
Return of the Jedi is really not a good movie. And the Phantom Menace, actually, I maintain, and people yell at me about this all the time, I maintain that there is a really good movie inside Phantom Menace that needs about 40 minutes cut out of it. And Topher Grace, do you know Topher Grace?
I wouldn't know.
From that 70s show. He, legend has it, set up because he's a rich Hollywood guy, went and did his own edit of Phantom Menace and screened it for a bunch, like rented out the Mann Chinese Theater and showed it just for a bunch of friends. And this was like a massive copyright infringement, and so he got away with it by like not charging anybody anything and keeping it all, just as a thing he did for giggles. And I think if you cut all of Jake Lloyd, you cut almost all the pod racing, you cut the weird underwater chase scene, and you focus the movie much more around the tragedy of Qui-Gon Jinn. Because here's this guy who thinks that he has figured out how to save the galaxy, and in fact he's wrong. And his apprentice thinks he's wrong, but as he's dying, he makes the apprentice promise to keep walking down this path anyway. And the apprentice, just out of a sense of honor and duty, just commits to doing this thing that he thinks is a bad idea. And that's actually like Shakespearean almost. Like, as I said, there's a really good movie in there somewhere, and it's just filled out with too much stuff that doesn't work. But after that, I mean, Attack of the Clones is a movie that is so unnecessary that it could have been explained with a paragraph in the crawl of Revenge of the Sith. Revenge of the Sith is, I don't know, some people like it, I do not. It seems like a series of quests that don't really serve any narrative purpose. There are things about The Force Awakens which work, but all of them have to do with Harrison Ford being on screen. And once Harrison Ford is gone, there's really nothing there. And then the next two sequels, the Rian Johnson one actually makes me angry. The final one, the Last Jedi? Is that
the Rise of Skywalker is the final one. Last Jedi.
Rise of Skywalker, yeah. The Rise of Skywalker is totally inoffensive. There's nothing wrong with it. I think actually they sort of figure out a way to handle the relationship between Kylo and Rey in an emotionally satisfying way. But the Rian Johnson middle chapter is fucking insane. Like, it's so bad and is such a betrayal of basically everything that's ever been put on film for any Star Wars at any level, that it is worse than the original Christmas special.
Wow, that's definitely a high charge. I mean, I'll be...
Yeah. But this is not like an old man, like, get off my lawn thing. I think Rogue One is probably the best of all the Star Wars movies.
Really?
I fucking love Rogue One so much. It's so good.
I mean...
Are you not into Rogue One?
I know. I actually... No. Here's the... Look, because I was so into the Clone Wars, I have a probably more respect on average for the side films and side features than I do...
Clone Wars was great.
Yeah.
That series was awesome. Love it.
It's just that... Look, Rogue One is very good, and there are a lot of things artistically I like in it. But here's I kind of appreciate that in all the films, the middle film is kind of the edgy one with each trilogy. And I particularly don't have many problems with The Last Jedi, but I definitely see the problems with it. But it just goes back to, we just have different bases for how we interpret Star Wars, and that's fine. Because I do prefer Rise of Skywalker to the other two films. Force Awakens, I feel like, was just too much of a retread. It was a well-executed retread, but ultimately what? The only major change was basically the death of Han. But the Rise of Skywalker, I mean, okay, here's from a lore perspective, a Star Wars lore perspective, Rise of Skywalker is the best, probably, of the 9 because of all the things it introduces that tie into, like, the old Republic era and all that stuff. My only disappointment with Rise of Skywalker, my only true disappointment, is the fact you couldn't see any vulture droids fighting over Exo. That's the only problem, because, like, I honestly, I'm not saying this as an ironic CIS show, but I honestly do believe that Star Wars has failed to properly capitalize on the CIS. Instead of, treating them as basically showing how the wrongs of speciesism can be perverted by malignant forces into a tragedy of, prejudice and intolerance. They're just instead played off as, dumb bad guys, which, well, for a large part they kind of were, to be honest. But at the same time, there's just so much they could have been done with that I really miss, and I wish that we could have seen it. Because if you want Star Wars to have discussion on how people of different ethnicities are treated, CIS is a perfect way to explore it. What about say there's a human admiral in the mid-rim who doesn't like the idea of bombarding the settler planet with more humans to get access to said resources, whatever, and what if he gets into a fight with these alien admirals about it? Stories like that should be explored, and they wouldn't really be out of the realm of Star Wars. But maybe I'm just bleeding over.
Totally agree.
I might be
I
bleeding.
totally agree, David.
Okay, but that's enough of me being serious. Now it's time for the shill fight. You with the Empire and me with the CIS. You should start off.
I mean, to me, game, set, and match is the First Order, right? So the First Order is terrible. Like, the First Order is really bad. All they want to do is just, like, kill everybody, right? And the whole point of the Empire was to hold stuff like that at bay. And the key to understanding the Empire is Darth Vader's pitch to Luke in Empire when Luke is hanging from the thing in Cloud City, and he doesn't say to him, "Join me and we'll suck up all the gold bullion and be spectacularly rich," or "Join me and you will have all the slave girls you could ever dream of." It says, "Join me and we'll end this destructive conflict and bring order to the galaxy."
Okay, I can
How many bad guys? How many guys who are truly in the wrong have that as their sign-up pitch?
Well, I'm quite certain that was a sign-up pitch for the Empire as is, not just with the Stormtrooper Corps, but with the standing militias and military. My question is, though, we saw the... Okay, you know what? I should not take it from the film perspective, but how does the Empire fundamentally address the same issues that led to the fall or the dysfunction of the Republic, aside from basically nationalizing all the corporations? And I don't necessarily mean in the sense of dysfunction, corruption. We know that happens. But, I don't mean solving in the sense of if you have dissenters, kill them. How does the Empire really handle this sort of ethnic strife between species? We don't. It implements a pro-human regime that's designed to collapse with, I'd say, more dysfunction in the military and bureaucratic core than the Republic ever saw. And the Republic itself, I have to say, as the CIS shell, was a complete mess.
I don't know. I mean, I think that what the Empire has is it has a system of regional governors. I mean, the Empire is really federalism, like strong federalism, that is then backed up by the Death Star, right? The idea is that you only have to blow up one or two planets, and then you never have to use it again. It's the Tarkin doctrine. The threat of force is what you need, not the use of force. And then you even see this manifested in Rogue One, right, where Tarkin is telling Krennic, "Look, we need a statement, not a manifesto," right? I don't know. You look at what the Empire is okay with. I mean, the Empire is okay with out and out slavery, right? It seems to me, when you look around the Star Wars universe, that most people, the Empire provides something close to law and order, and you don't want to get on the wrong side of them. But if you run a business, then you can basically do your business without worrying about getting hassled by them. And absent the Empire, it's like the Hutts run everything. You have organized crime everywhere, and then once the strong federalism is gone, the galaxy is run by the regional governors, who are all just warlords, right? And you wind up with Somalia, and that winds up being pretty bad. It is telling that nowhere do the rebels ever talk about what they want to do, right? It's just like, yeah, we got to smash the Empire. There's no... And then after we smash the Empire, we want to make sure that we have an enlightened liberal democracy, right? There's no what then to what they're doing.
Okay. So here's my question, though. Okay, so you bring up a specific point, facilitating trade and stability. You can get your business to go along, but how should I, say as a firm owner in the Star Wars, a supplier in the galactic market economy, feel when the basis of the laws are enforced and maintained by a political entity known for nationalizing A, those are threats to its power, B, those that are economically viable, or a combination of the two, and then often have its owners tossed out or replaced by political stooges, especially if they're alien or non-human. Is that necessary? Can we really say that an institution is pro-business or facilitates commerce if said firms are fundamentally at risk of existence?
I mean, do we ever see that in the films?
Okay,
I mean, this is my because again, if you go back to my original piece on this, I say at the very very top, no expanded universe stuff.
Oh
We're
shoot!
we're not taking any of that stuff into account, because if you will take in all of the different comic books and novellas and
All right,
whatnot
yeah.
that are considered canon, and by the way, which I believe Disney wiped out.
Yeah, they did. I had to.
Disney bought it. They just
Well-
they wiped away the entire expanded universe and said, "Yeah, never mind."
Well, they did keep a lot of the stuff. Oh, sorry. Go
The
ahead.
only canon is the film.
All right.
The only canon of the films, because you can't erase the films. You can't just make
Yeah.
them disappear.
Actually, you know what? I'm not trying to say this as a sort of concession, but I think I actually didn't really. I hate to admit, so I actually never found your original piece describing the Empire. I only know about the memes, so
That's okay.
it's fine. I mean, I was trying to work with what would have been like in-universe knowledge to people of prominence, but that's fine too. But because
No, believe me, I read I read most of that stuff when I was in high school. Yeah, again, when you just look at, just take Endor. Take Endor for example, right? So the Empire has built this giant base on Endor, and Ewoks are fine, right? They're basically living in harmony with them. They have not gone on a pogrom to exterminate the Ewoks or anything. And it's only once the rebels show up that they blow up this giant Death Star, which, by everything we know about physics, must certainly wind up with the eradication of all life on the moon of Endor. Right? I mean, there's something that big blows up in near orbit. That
Okay.
shit is going to rain down on you, and it's an extinction level event.
dude, I gotta admit, you're kind of. Look, I like Return of the Jedi, but the Ewoks are definitely a part. They should have stuck to the original idea of having it on Kashyyyk with Wookiees. I'm sorry. I'll let you go back to this.
No, totally. It absolutely should have been on the Wookiee planet.
Okay. George Lucas, he wants to create this theme of like industrialization versus like say undeveloped places, right? That's fine. You can do that with the Wookiees, totally. But you're doing it with like the child soldier cutesy furball Care Bear equivalent of Wookiees. Why? It doesn't even facilitate your points. If anything, it's an argument in favor of using child soldiers in a military conflict. I'm sorry, that's enough ranting.
So what's funny though is that stuff emerges. That impulse to use cutesy merchandising stuff does not exist in Star Wars until Return of the Jedi. He totally resists that impulse in both New Hope and Empire. It's like a splinter in his brain. Once it's there for Jedi, it's then there for throughout Phantom Menace. You see it in, I think, every subsequent Star Wars film, and it's so cloying and it's such bad storytelling. And Lucas is himself. I mean, part of the problem, I think, is that Lucas just doesn't have anybody to say no. And this is a common theme you see in all art forms, in all times, and in all places, which is that once an artist reaches a point of prominence where there's nobody around them to say, bad idea, their work suffers for it.
Yeah, it's constructive limitation, right? You got to have some limits in place to make sure the structure stands.
Even if they're artificial limits.
Yeah.
Right? This is why poets, cling to form like the sonnet, because the art comes from finding interesting things to work within structure.
Mm-hmm.
So
That's something I've always believed in. Okay, so I think we pretty much had a pretty good dose of Star Wars, and actually very nice to hear some perspectives on the Empire that don't come from crypto fascists. So
yeah, well, I'm probably not. Probably not a crypto.
oh,
fascist.
do we have something to admit to the national? Oh, have I ever told you about my my meme ideology?
No, tell me about it.
National Obamasm. We take the good parts of Obama's policies and we take the good parts of fascism and put them together. Nothing can go wrong with that, right?
Yeah, no, that sounds great.
I already.
National socialism or something.
Yeah, no, dude. Everyone is healthcare. Subsidized healthcare is mandated. Mandated. If you do not accept the mandated subsidized healthcare, you get sent to re-inspiration camp so you can get some hope. I've already figured out the uniforms too. It'll be a black painter's beret and a tan suit. We're currently undergoing a schism right now because, as we've discovered, the teachings of the anarcho-Bidenists are not consistent with true national Obama's policy. So we got some things to square away.
Love it. Okay,
Yeah.
what do you got next?
Okay, okay. We've covered stars. I got to update my list. We've covered New School Game to some extent. I do want to mess with your brain regarding anime stuff, but I don't feel like we're discussing resisting socialist charges because that might not be concurrent interest. That might not coincide with the interests of patrons. What about Bible Man, the superhero?
Tell me, what is Bible Man, the superhero?
I looked it up. I always only come across it in small bits. Basically, I think he was active in the 90s as some sort of, those low production value Christian TV shows you could find on VHS at Goodwill. Like one of those things. He's got some prominence. I think he has a board game adaptation, video game adaptation, and stuff like that. So my question...
Sounds like something from The Simpsons.
I mean, it looked like a parody when I first came across it. So my question to you is, for putting out there so you can understand where I'm coming from, I'm a deist, right? I don't necessarily come from places of established faith, but, what do you say to something like that? As a devout Catholic, what's your perspective on a lot of the Christian entertainment spheres like that?
I hate it all so much.
You don't like
I can't even tell you how much I hate Christian entertainment.
You despise the monetization of Christ's teachings or something else?
No, I despise the foolish inartfulness through which most of it is expressed. I mean, look, Handel's Messiah is awesome. Sign me up for something that's great art. For schlock that is intended to be witness or evangelism or something, keep that the fuck away from me. I want no part of it. But this is part of my Catholic sensibility, which is that all Catholics are bad Catholics, and I am a bad Catholic in many ways. But one of which is that I find the call to evangelization something that interests me not at all. Find the call to fellowship something that interests me not at all. I could care less about any of that stuff. I'm much more of, Catholics talk about there being a heart Catholics and head Catholics. I'm much more of a head Catholic. I would just like to sit and read Aquinas. That's if people want to feel inspired to get their Jesus on. Go get a fucking philosopher who's been dead for 1,000 years, who is smart and has thought about this. You don't need to watch Kirk Cameron on some $300,000 budget made for TV movie. If that is what turns you onto God, then you're just a moron. Sorry, is that too much?
No. Look, as I said, I'm not a Christian. I mean, I used to go to Chinese church and whatnot, and I have some idea. But look, I'm not offended by him. I just want to get information. I guess this isn't really a critical topic for me. I want perspective. All right,
I hate all that stuff. Do you like that stuff? And also, it's all bad.
It is bad. No, I never.
Christian rock or Christian music.
You're just ruining rock and roll.
Right. Well, I mean, have you ever heard anything Christian-y that's been written in a musical form in the last, say, 80 years that was any good?
Not particularly.
I think the answer is pretty surely no.
No, I mean, look, the way I see it, when it comes to the best way you could convince me to believe in your faith is for me to see consistent goodwill practice or consistent theology practice, here's the thing, right? And I guess part comes down to marketing too. There needs to serve, all faiths are designed to serve a purpose to some extent, whether it being exalting one deity or another, or if you're really the brutalistic lizard brain kind of person, first serving some sort of function for society. Like, what can your faith do? I mean, from my personal experiences, there was a Taoist temple I used to go to that I tried going to now, but if it weren't for the pandemic, that really helped me, to understand some things in my life for a period of time. And their teachings were consistent. I never saw any of this sort of, you must do it our way or the highway stuff, no political expulsion. In fact, these people, if anything, made quite a few references to Christ's teaching. In fact, I'm quite sure they're really preaching a more fusionist form of things. But the thing that really strikes me is, they're legitimate. They're trying, they're not playing around with things. They understand that the best way to get a message across is to have it coherent and to be honest with it. You shouldn't have to grift or try to convince people through cheap means the validity of your beliefs.
Yeah, I think that's basically right. And this is, I mean, look, the only reason to believe in any of this stuff is because you think it's true, right? I mean, that's the nuts and bolts of it. And the way, I guess I shouldn't invalidate other people's experience. I'm sure there are people who come to things because it just feels a certain way to them or it feels right. But the way I have always looked as somebody who, was raised Catholic and then fell away and then came back to the church, you start by like, A is A. What is true versus what is untrue? And the first step of that is like, is anything true? Are there truths? Are there, is there a way in which 1 + 1 = 2, which is not a matter of perspective? And once you hit that, once you hit on the idea of, actually, it seems like there has to be objective truth, then that is essentially an argument for deism. And once you are at the level of deism, then everything is just a matter of trying to sift through what is out there to figure out what you think is the right one, because it's correct.
All right. That's good stuff. So here's mine. Okay, here's the next question. Do you want to watch me, shoot terrorists in, what was it, Rainbow Six Vegas? Hold on, I gotta take this call. Emma, 我没得嘛东西，我没，我这做事情。没，没得，我是等你，好，好，我一点好。这位。Alright, sorry about that. I gotta help my mom with her video game addiction.
What are you helping her with?
Some WeChat game. Okay, I don't know what it is. I think you gotta solve like puzzles for like Chinese phrases. I don't know. If I knew, I would.
Is it Sudoku? Do they have?
It's kind of like that. It's kind of like that. But there's no 9x9x9. It's like crossword. It's more like crossword.
Oh, interesting.
It's on me. Look, I've told you my thoughts on Chinese mobile games. One in particular. I'm not going to torture you with any more of that for now. At least maybe it might change in a few minutes. So anyway, my question is, would you like to see Rainbow Six Vegas, which to me is like the second class legitimate Rainbow Six game, or do you want to see me burn Nazis to death with a flamethrower in Day of Infamy?
I want to see Day of Infamy.
Oh hell yeah, we gonna do this one. I got a bunch of mods installed for it. Let me pull it up. It takes a while to load though, and
That's okay.
I've tried. I can stream it with low FPS because it's so processor intensive. This is basically the poor man's game computer I got here, but it works. It's going to take a while to load.
Is this a console or a PC?
It's a PC game. I'm a PC gamer. I wish I had the money for a console. And Day of Infamy, Day of Infamy exists within the sort of PC gaming's really niche shooter market, tactical shooters. Some have made the jump to consoles, like Insurgency Sandstorm, which developed Day of Infamy, but has the same devs, and some don't. But all right, hold on, let me get into this. So I got a mod on Steam that replaces the original soundtrack with the one from Inglourious Basterds. It has a bot mode.
That's nice.
Alright, let me find a good map. I gotta find a good map for Birmingham. Dog Red's softly too... Hold on. Let's see. Yeah, this one should work. Yeah, it takes a while to load.
So what is... I have not bought a console since PlayStation 3. What is, when you and your gamer buddies are out there, what is the gold standard? Do you want to be running the latest Xbox or PlayStation, or would you rather have a really high-end gaming PC?
Look, pal, we all have PCs, but we all were poor STEM high school students. We just wanted to run. I got a friend with a Dell XPS who undervolts his processor just so we can get 60 FPS in the Division 2. Like, by, culture, I guess, more than anything else, by association, we've kind of been indoctrinated into PC gaming, but it's not as if that's our end-all be-all. It's not like we're, one of those PC master race idiots. We just want to be able to play the games, right?
Yeah.
Look, I'm lucky to have the Alienware that I do. I'm lucky, okay? I'm not saying I earned it with my money, because it was pretty much a gift from my family for getting into a good college. I'm not saying I managed to, really finagle it. I'm just lucky. And that's I feel like for too many people in PC gaming, they're just lucky to get their stuff, and they're letting that feed their ego. I'm sorry if I went on a bit off tangent, but no, my friends, we don't really care.
No. And so when you guys do, is it easier to play networked on PCs than it is on the consoles, or is it not as easy?
Honestly, console's optimized as used for. Hold on, I gotta turn down the volume on this. Okay, hold on. I'm so sorry. Hold up. No, consoles. I think from what I can tell. I mean, I played on my brother's PS4 quite a bit when I over like early high school, and now it's the social functions on consoles are optimized for it. They're far easier to work with. PC, it's at the end of the day, it's not a game machine. It's an information device. You still gotta finagle things like Discord, like Steam. You gotta download all the launchers and all that to get it to work. PC can give you a better experience, but takes way more work to even enjoy it.
One of the coolest gigs I almost ever had was I don't know, maybe 8 years ago. A couple guys from Steam called me up and wanted to see if I would help write some pattern stuff for one of their games, and we went back and forth over it, and it never took off. But I was really jazzed at the idea of being able to help. It was for one of these. I don't know, it's like a funny game. It's like a team assault game, but like the characters are all like way over the top.
Team Fortress 2? Are you talking about Team Fortress 2?
Yeah, Team Fortress 2.
Wait, repeat what they wanted you to do on it?
They wanted me to come in and like do some writing.
Really?
It was one of these things where clearly somebody on the design team knew my stuff and liked me, and they were trying to hire somebody to come in and do some writing. And so they called me up, and we had a bunch of conversations about it, and it wound up not going anywhere.
Man, that's wild.
That would have been fun, right?
Oh, man, TF2 has like a cult following even now. That's like the holy grail of man. You're like so tangential to so many of like the real pop culture things for young American men. I gotta say that right now.
Yeah, it's a funny thing, right? Yeah, this is the holy grail is I needed to at some point have WWE call me and ask me to come do some writing for them, because that would be the fucking bomb. Are you a wrestling guy? Or
no, the closest I've ever gone to wrestling was watching like a friend in Kentucky watch his wrestling when he was watching me. I mean, I wish, because I know it's a bunch of made up of, but the only thing I really know about wrestling is that Rey Mysterio gets injured a lot.
So, promise me this as your thank you to me for watching this. Give me 26 minutes of your time when you have it in the next week or so. Go to YouTube and watch Wrestling Isn't Wrestling by Max Landis. So Max Landis is a screenwriter and director. He is the son of famous Hollywood guy John Landis, and he did a YouTube short film explaining what is so amazingly awesome about professional wrestling, and it's the best. And you'll come away from it loving it.
If you could
So do that for me.
I will do.
Wrestling Isn't Wrestling by Max Landis.
I will do that. Just put it in like the chat so I can remember it, because I'm not saying I'm going to forget. It's just like,
Right there.
all right,
No, I'll even pull the link to YouTube.
all right, that's great.
Your thing is running.
I'm going to try to. Okay, I got to cycle through fun to do with the flamethrower again, because I keep dying whenever I run into the Nazis. This game is pure power fantasy, to be honest. This kind of power fantasy every American should be able to experience. Oh, if you haven't noticed, whenever I shoot the flamethrower, Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire plays. If you get shot and die, you'll scream like Tom from Tom and Jerry. The world of modding is extremely fun. I'm not sure if you've been able to hear it, but... Or, I mean...
Here's the YouTube. We can even watch this together. God, that's so fucking great.
Man.
It's right here.
Okay. Okay, hold on. I gotta check my sticky notes to see what else I want to bring up. Hey, we gotta talk about Tom Clancy, since we weren't on air, but when we talk about Tom Clancy. All right, so you pretty much read books kosher. I've read books kosher, and you're basically sad that he kind of sold out to Ghostwriters, right?
Yeah.
All right.
There's so much money to be made.
Do you want to hear some even sadder news?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, you know all the Tom Clancy games that started releasing in the 90s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those IPs have been bought up by Ubisoft. And Ubisoft, in addition to making buttloads of money off said IPs, they're also starting to do collabs with Chinese anime games with said IPs. First, okay, so I keep like spamming you basically with details about Arknights, but they're doing a collab on the Chinese servers with Rainbow Six Siege, and then I know there's this other one called Girls Frontline or something that's doing a collab with the Division, and that one's not so bad because I don't really think the Division is a legitimate Tom Clancy IP, but I'm just saying the news isn't good out there if you want to stay true to the enlightened path of Clancy.
Yeah, and as I said, it hasn't been true for a really long time. What are your favorite of the Clancy books?
Dang, that's a hard one, because, like, on one hand, they're very enjoyable political techno thrillers, but on the other hand, his ideological stuff is kind of wacky. Like, I don't know, I think it's cool, though. I mean, honestly, Rainbow Six was kind of cool. But I'm not sure if that's still in the kosher period or not, because, like, the thing about Tom Clancy books is that they have, like, a conservative view of America, but it's basically the conservative utopian America that would actually be worth living in, not some sort of hellhole they turn out to be in policy. I mean, and some of the kind of miss we still have that sort of idealism in writing nowadays, but whatever.
Well,
But,
and it wasn't there early either. I mean, this is a type of thing that we talked about constraints. You know, the richer he got and the more liberated he was to write down whatever the fuck he wanted, the worse his stuff got.
yeah.
You know, there was no oversight, and he was, but there are parts of his later books which read as though they were done by Ayn Rand or something.
Yeah.
They're practically political polemics where all of a sudden Jack Ryan is spouting off like he's Reagan or something about, free markets and shit like that. But the best, have you ever read Cardinal and the Kremlin?
Oh, dang. No. I had that book in my trunk. And then I think it wound up at Goodwill after I got it from the same Goodwill. No, that's the one I haven't managed to get to yet.
So it's the best of all the Clancy
Really?
books. But here's the pitch I would like to make to you, because this is the interesting tension in Clancy. So he is this conservative, really Reaganite figure, and yet his greatest gift as a writer was that he fucking loved the Russians. And he must have read every single one of the great Russian novels a dozen times, because he really understood the soul of the Russians, and that is on display nowhere better than Cardinal of the Kremlin. And the guy he just gets it. He gets Russian culture. He gets the heart of everything that it means to be Russian, and he loves them for it. You know, there's no paternalism to it. He's not looking down on them for it, and that is really his writerly gift, and is part of what makes his early stuff so good. And there's even a little bit of this in Hunt for Red October. Not so much. There's a little bit of it in Red Storm Rising, although not so much.
Also, like,
And
Red Storm Rising.
you should read Cardinal the Kremlin
I
at
will.
some point in your life when you don't study for exams, because it's really long.
All right, yeah. I mean, I knew it was. All right, I'll be sure to get that because I had no clue it was that good.
Oh, it's so good.
I gotta figure out what to go with. You know what? We'll go with Boosted. Man, okay, hold on. Let's see. Honestly, like, we're through the good topics. Is there anything you want to bring up?
No, this is all good. I want to see you kill Nazis.
All right, I'm gonna keep doing it. Oh shoot. Hold on. This is so cathartic. You know, I'm honestly a super political person. I'd say I'm too political. Honestly. Politics has influenced my decisions to buy video games. It's influenced my decisions on other things, like, I wish I was less political, but I can't help being not, because I'm afraid of what would happen if I became any less political.
Yeah, fair enough. I mean, it's
poisoned
it's
wine.
hard. I got a friend who is a big TV star, and he always said that the best advice he ever got for TV was given him by Larry King. And Larry King told him that the secret is that you have to give a shit, but not really. And I think the same has basically been true about politics in America up until the last 5 years, where the key to having a healthy attitude towards politics is that you have to give a shit, but, not really.
Yeah, oh shit, I got ambushed. Man, okay. Sorry. Yeah, I mean...
Type of environment.
I mean, And I got some really boomer takes, as a consequence of being raised by a boomer. Oh, you mentioned you knew some people at the National Review staff. Would you happen to know Kevin D. Williamson or David French? Have you interacted with them personally?
I know them both very well.
Kevin D. Williamson is how I discovered the National Review. In high school, I did a project on examining Appalachian poverty, and one of his articles is what I found for my research. And then I found out how combative of an author he was. And if you ever bring up National Review, the only people I care about are French and Williamson. And not because I agree with them, but because there's a coherency to them. And Kevin D. Williamson, honestly, when I found out that the Atlantic hired him on and then booted him off because some people didn't like it, I was so unhappy. Because he could have done so much for them, but look, whatever. And what's done is done. It's our job to carry on,
Yeah, Kevin's great. I actually palled around Rome with him for a week once. It was really quite fun. He's an interesting guy.
Oh, I bet.
Deeply, deeply smart. Quirky in all the ways that you want great writers to be quirky. And that piece that you read on the Appalachian decline stuff was one of his masterworks. He's really something. And Kevin sort of came out of nowhere starting 2011 or so. I mean, he was always a solid writer, but he really found himself. And for the last decade, he's just been killing it. So it's been great. After he got screwed by the Atlantic, I actually hired him to do a bunch of work for me at the Standard, just to keep him floating until National Review could get him hired back, because they had to do some fighting over there to let him get back in the door, because the donors didn't want him to, because he had been anti-Trump. So he's a good guy, and I was happy to be able to help him.
That's the one thing I'm always going to hold against the Atlantic, is firing him. Atlantic was the first magazine I paid actual money for subscription to, And I still do, but I'm always going to hold that against them, because it was... Okay, how many people complain I'm honestly read them consistently? I bet not. I probably maybe 5%. Maybe, look, there are some things you have to sacrifice, and some things you have to do that are going to be unpopular, but you need to do it because of the value it brings, either artistically, intellectually, or morally. And I don't think they should have compromised. Look, if you're going to complain to Atlantic, you don't have to agree with everything they say, but it's the Atlantic. They know what they're doing when they make decisions. But when they fired him, they certainly didn't. That wasn't the Atlantic making a decision. It was basically them giving in for no good reason. I'm sorry if I'm going a bit ranty on that, but...
Fine, like I said, this is a case where I see both sides of it. I think I understand what happened on the inside of the Atlantic.
Okay, yeah.
It's not the call I would have made if I was running my own shop.
Yeah.
There.
All this needs to be qualified that I'm an outside observer. There's certainly stuff going on. I disagree with it, but it's their call. I mean, and here's the thing, I will... Oh, no, man. Certainly the stuff he said hasn't been respectful, and... what? Let's stop before I get myself... I'll stop, because... Look, there are a lot of things I disagree with, but I still think it's worthwhile for what he could have contributed to the writer base of the Atlantic.
No, believe me, if I ran the Atlantic, I would have been happy to have him. I run my shop right now. If Kevin ever needed a home, I would be happy to have him. This is one of the glories of actually being the boss now and running a place, is that I no longer have to live with somebody else making those decisions.
Man, that's the dream.
It really is. So if Kevin ever comes up as a free agent again, I'll go out and get him.
All right, in case anyone thinks I'm some sort of right-leaning shield, do you want to hear me complain about iFunny?
Sure.
Okay, iFunny is a Russian propaganda app disguised as a humor app that's poisoning the youth of America with shitty gun porn, with shitty political takes, with softcore hentai, with the most incel takes about men and women. It's honestly setting America back, this country, for 500 years, and no one seems to care. I mean, I've spammed Jim Swift about this, and he knows, but it's so hard to get anyone to actually pay attention. I'm pretty sure it might be a honeypot, but I'm not sure. But oh god, the features on iPhone, which is basically the page you load into, it's full of all your stereotypical Facebook tier stuff. You know what I'm talking about. I don't have to say it, but you know exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So that's bad on some, but then you got mixed up with all this sort of hentai and all that. Well, it's not, you can't put actual hentai because it'll get you restricted, but you know what I mean. It's misogynistic, racist drivel that Oh my, dude, look, I'm sorry, but even thinking of it now is putting me on the border of an aneurysm because of how much vitriol and hate. And if that wasn't bad enough, they, like, recently changed their upload system, so I have an even harder time putting my counter compromat onto it, you know? Because as much as I hate the place, I used it as a way to publish some of my writing. Oh god, I haven't told you about my writing, have I?
Are they pulling, what sort of data are they pulling from you?
Oh, what? I'm pretty sure. I mean, it's all but confirmed they're using users' phones to mine cryptocurrency. And that's at least that's like as one revenue stream at the minimum, and that's without all like the dude. One time they had this ad for like this sort of shaving companies where that would literally show goat testicles. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. I wish I was kidding, but I'm not. So in addition to all the crypto, in addition to all basically the fascist propaganda, you got goat balls. Like, I could not think of like a more putrid content system.
What could be better?
Not seeing it?
What could be better?
Shooting Nazis, that could be better. Oh shit, I got rid of it.
All right, man. Listen, this has been awesome. I'm sorry I have to go, but Bill Barr was fired.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
I got a long night of writing and editing
Hey,
in front of me.
you and the rest of the staff keep up the good work. You know, it's nice to see something that makes sense.
Well, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Thanks for having me. Thanks for having me on the show.
Look, I'm like some elementary school kid who reads basketball magazines hosting LeBron James, basically, okay? I just gotta say, this is beyond my wildest dreams when I started doing anything with the internet.
Well, I'm glad, and I'm glad you had fun because I had fun too.
Empire's still
Idiot,
wrong,
my
though.
friend. Catch you later, man.
Yeah, see ya. Thanks for showing up. Whatever, man. Alright, so yeah, that was Jonathan V. Last of... screw it. You know, you don't know who I am, but I know who he is, and I know who you are. And that's what matters. That was Jonathan V. Last of the Bulwark, you know. He writes some interesting stuff. And, more importantly, he actually has a brain, doesn't... Yeah, okay, I'm getting political here, aren't I? But I should. Anyway, that's all I gotta say. So this is, Alternative Facts signing off once I stop showing you my really dilapidated screen cap. And I'm glad that you guys turned in whoever you are, and I hope that no malicious forces find this, except for the U.S. government. U.S. government, if you want anything from me, I will provide happily. But other than that, I mean, this was a pretty baller night, I gotta say. So, good night, folks.